The Boston Celtics are arguably the most decorated franchise in the NBA. Holding the record for the most championship banners with rival Los Angeles Lakers, the Celtics set the standard for excellence during the first 3 decades of the league. To this day, their early NBA dominance is unmatched in league history, winning 8 consecutive titles from 1959 to 1966, and winning 11 of 13 championships during that span, ending in 1969. Lathered with a history of Hall of Fame stars, the Celtics have maintained their reputation as one of the premier and respected organizations in the association. They may have only secured 1 title in the last 31 seasons, but the franchise has continued to compile a list of memorable moments along the way in their quest to climb the mountain yet again in the near future. With so much that has transpired since their inception to their current championship aspirations, here are the top 20 most iconic moments in Boston Celtics history. At number 20, in the 2002 Eastern Conference Finals against the New Jersey Nets, the Boston Celtics put together the greatest playoff comeback in NBA history. During Game 3 of their matchup, the Celtics found themselves down 21 points entering the 4th quarter, on the brink of going down 2-1 in the series. The unthinkable then happened, as the Celtics went on a 41-16 explosion in the final period, led by superstar Paul Pierce, who posted 19 of his 28 points in the final 12 minutes of play to win the game against all odds. At number 19, while the Celtics are known for team-oriented success, there have been occasions in which individual players have been honored for their greatness. February 10, 2011 was one of those instances, as sharpshooter Ray Allen passed Reggie Miller's all-time three-point record of 2,560 inside Boston's TD Garden. Allen connected on three-pointer 2,561 with 1 minute and 48 seconds left in the first quarter, and then proceeded to hug his predecessor in a wholesome moment for the organization. Coming in at number 18, one of the more underrated moments in Celtics history was the hiring of head coach Doc Rivers on April 30, 2004. Rivers became the Celtics' 16th head coach and was an instrumental part of the franchise's first title in 18 years in 2008. By the time he departed Boston, Rivers had secured their 17th title, reached the NBA Finals twice, and made 7 playoff appearances. He boasted a .416 and .305 regular season record, a winning percentage of 57.7, and led the team to 59 postseason wins, good for 3rd all-time behind Red Auerbach and Casey Jones. Next up at number 17, it's hard to imagine an in-game steal making this kind of list, but Gerald Henderson's steal is more than worthy. Amidst a heated battle against the Los Angeles Lakers in the playoffs in 1984, the Lakers took Game 1 and were leading the Celtics 113-111 in Game 2. With 18 seconds left and the game and series on the line, Henderson picked off a pass from James Worthy and raced in for a game-tying layup. In a rare mental freeze, Magic Johnson would take the inbound pass and dribble out the clock to allow overtime. The Celtics went on to prevail in overtime and win the series in 7 games, prompting team leader Larry Bird to reveal the magnitude of that play. To be honest, if it wasn't for that steal, we probably would have been swept. At number 16, with 6 minutes and 48 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, Celtics superstar Paul Pierce was taken off the floor in a wheelchair in Game 1 of the 2008 NBA Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers. This was caused by a collision with teammate Kendrick Perkins, and the Boston faithful feared the worst. To their amazement, Pierce returned just moments later and nailed 2 straight three-pointers to ignite his team. Upon his return, the Celtics would go on to win the game and be crowned NBA champions in 6 games. Coming in at number 15, on March 12, 1985, Hall of Famer Larry Bird dropped a franchise record 60 points in a 126-115 win over the Atlanta Hawks. The previous record was held by Kevin McHale, who put up 56 points just 9 days earlier. Bird was unstoppable on the evening, and 36 of his 60 were scored in just 14 minutes of action in the second half to cap off the historic night. Next, at number 14, Dennis Johnson is perhaps the most underappreciated player when looking back on the Celtics' glory days, but his contributions during his tenure live long in the memory. He guarded Magic Johnson in the last 4 games of the '84 Finals, scoring 20 or more points in each game, and it was Dennis Johnson who was there racing toward the basket for the easy lay-in after Larry Bird stole the ball from Isaiah Thomas in Game 5 of the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals. Sadly, Johnson passed away in 2007, but his best moments earn him a place on this list. At number 13, John Havlicek's steal in Game 7 of the 1965 Eastern Conference Finals makes this list for the iconic commentary on the play by the late, great Johnny Most. Havlicek stole an inbounds pass with 5 seconds left to play to ice the all-important do-or-die Game 7 contest, and Most called it perfectly. Havlicek steals it, over to Sam Jones. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over. Johnny Havlicek stole the ball. The Celtics went on to win the matchup, and the call still gives die-hard Celtics fans chills to this day. At number 12, the Celtics won perhaps the greatest NBA Finals game in history in 1976. A game that should be more talked about in NBA circles, the Celtics won a triple overtime Game 5 against the Phoenix Suns in an all-time thriller. On an electric Friday night, both teams went back and forth in a physically and emotionally draining affair, with the Celtics prevailing 128 to 126 on the evening. Just days later, the franchise was hoisting up its 13th NBA title. Coming in at number 11, after losing out on legendary power forward Tim Duncan in the 1997 draft, the Celtics' luck returned just a year later as scoring machine Paul Pierce was available with the 10th pick. It proved to be a genius selection, as Pierce went on to become one of the all-time great pure scorers the league has ever seen, and be named the Finals MVP in the record-setting 17th NBA championship in 2008. Coming in at number 10, in a deeply sad day for the NBA, Celtics legend Tommy Heinsohn passed away late last year. Heinsohn was one of the most recognizable and beloved figures for the franchise, helping them win NBA championships and then transitioning into one of the more entertaining color commentators for the organization. His passing signified an important moment in the franchise's history, and his memory will always be honored. Next up at number 9, the Celtics turned the world on its head when they formed a big three of Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett in the summer of 2007. The best part was all three players were still very much in their prime, with a combined career scoring average of 65.6 points. General manager Danny Ainge traded Delonte West, Boston's number 5 lottery pick, and Wally Szczerbiak in exchange for Allen, and a month later he orchestrated a deal of Al Jefferson, Theo Ratliff, Jeff Green, Ryan Gomes, Sebastian Telfair, 2 first-round picks, and cash to Minnesota for Garnett. At number 8, astonishingly, the Celtics never wanted legendary point guard Bob Cousy, as his reputation clouded their judgment. Luckily for them, he eventually did pull on the uniform, playing on 6 championship teams, led the league in assists 8 straight years, was voted onto 13 NBA All-Star games, and was named NBA MVP in 1957. By the time his career ended, the Celtics faithful counted their lucky stars he got to play for them. Coming in at number 7, before Pierce, Allen, and Garnett wore the Celtic green, the original Big Three of Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish ruled the league. In the 1980s, the trio were an unstoppable force, leading the Celtics to a multitude of titles as they established themselves as a first-class organization in the NBA. Next up at number 6, drafting Larry Bird was the single greatest acquisition in Celtics history. Boston fans can thank Red Auerbach, who selected a little-known junior-eligible forward out of Indiana State in 1978 with the 6th pick. Bird went on to become the greatest player in franchise history. At number 5, like we mentioned earlier, prior to 2008, the Celtics hadn't won a title since 1986. In 2008, the Lakers-Celtics rivalry was renewed, and the latter prevailed in 7 games over the Phil Jackson and Kobe Bryant-led Lakers. The Celtics starting 5 of Pierce, Garnett, Allen, Kendrick Perkins, and Rajon Rondo never lost a playoff series, and is still remembered as one of the greatest collections of overall talent in league history. When it was all over, Garnett would famously claim, "Anything is possible, anything is possible." For number 4, legendary big man Bill Russell played his last game for the Celtics in 1969. He ended his career in style, defeating bitter rival Los Angeles Lakers, marking the 6th time in 8 years that he lifted the trophy. The Lakers were heavily favored coming into the series, with the likes of Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor on the roster. But Russell and the Celtics somehow forced a Game 7 in LA and came out on top 108-106 in his final appearance. Coming in at number 3, the Big Three of Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish won their 3rd and final NBA championship together in Boston, as the Celtics defeated the Houston Rockets in 6 games in the 1986 finals. It was the franchise's 16th World Championship and would be its last until 2008. The beauty of it all is the 3 Hall of Famers have stayed close to the game since their time together ended, most notably with McHale going on to coach, and Bird becoming a coach and an executive for the Indiana Pacers. At number 2, when iconic coach Red Auerbach passed away in 2006, the Celtics said goodbye to their captain. Auerbach made too many genius strokes in the front office to list here, but his contributions during his tenure, leading the Celtics to multiple championships, will never be forgotten. Among the legends brought to Boston by Auerbach, Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Larry Bird, Frank Ramsey, Tommy Heinsohn, Sam Jones, John Havlicek, and Dave Cowens. With Auerbach at the helm as coach or in the front office, the Celtics won 16 championships, including 9 during his last 10 years as coach. Finally, at number 1, Larry Bird may be the greatest player in franchise history, but Bill Russell was the most important. The Celtics never won a championship before Bill Russell came to Boston. He would win 11 championships in his 13 seasons with Boston, including 8 straight from 1959 to 66. Russell would never lose an elimination game in the NCAA tournament, the Olympics, or a Game 7 in the NBA. He is regarded by many as the greatest player of all time, and it's unlikely anyone will ever reach his level of championship success again in our lifetime. What do you think is the most important moment in Boston Celtics history? Let us know in the comments, and check out this hand-picked video we know you're going to want to watch next.